The moment my sister asked me for $6,000, I realized she thought she had won forever. That was the exact second I decided to finish what she started. I used to believe blood meant loyalty. I was wrong. I'm the older sister, the responsible one, the one who always fixed things. Growing up, I protected her from everything. Bullies, bad decisions, consequences. My parents trusted me with her life more than they trusted themselves. And I never complained. I loved her like she was my own child. Then I met my husband. He wasn't rich. He wasn't flashy, but he was gentle. He listened when I spoke. He held my hand like it mattered. We built everything slowly. Tiny apartment. Cheap furniture, dreams scribbled on sticky notes. When I got pregnant, I cried, not from fear, from happiness. I remember telling my sister first. She hugged me tight, too tight, her nails dug into my back. She said, "I'm so happy for you." Her voice shook. I thought it was emotion. I let her stay with us sometimes. She said she felt lonely. I didn't question it. I trusted both of them. That was my first mistake. At first, it was small things, whispers that stopped when I walked in. My husband suddenly, working late. My sister borrowing my clothes. My perfume missing. When I asked, they laughed. They said I was hormonal, pregnancy brain. I apologized for even asking. One night I woke up thirsty. The bed beside me was cold. I walked into the living room, lights off, silence. Then I heard breathing, soft, slow. Coming from the guest room. I stood there, frozen. My heart knew before my mind did. I opened the door. They didn't even jump. My sister was naked under my blanket. My husband's hands were on her waist. My husband, the man who just hours earlier kissed my stomach and said, "Good night, my love." I screamed. Not words, a sound. Like something tearing inside me. My sister cried first. She said it wasn't what it looked like. My husband didn't say anything. He just stared at the floor. That silence ruined me more than any lie could have. I packed a bag and left that night, barefoot, pregnant, shaking. My parents begged me to forgive. They said families make mistakes. My sister said she was confused. She said she loved him. He didn't fight for me, he didn't chase me. 2 months later, they moved in together. While I was learning how to breathe without collapsing, they were posting smiling photos. My baby kicked inside me while I cried myself to sleep. I gave birth alone. No sister, no husband. Just me, and a tiny heartbeat that saved my life. 5 years passed. 5 years of rebuilding from ashes. I worked 2 jobs. I raised my child. I healed quietly. I didn't stalk them. I didn't curse them publicly. I disappeared. They married. They struggled. They pretended to be happy. I watched from a distance. Not with jealousy, with patience. Then one afternoon my phone buzzed. Her name. My sister. My hands shook as I read her message. "Hey, I'm pregnant. It's a boy. I know things were bad before. But your family, we're having a baby shower. We'd love it if you could give $6,000 as a gift." $6,000. For the baby she was carrying, with the man who abandoned me while I was pregnant. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied, "Of course." She sent heart emojis. She said she knew I'd understand. She had no idea I didn't cry, I didn't yell. I smiled. Because revenge doesn't scream, it waits. Over the next few weeks, I played my role perfectly. I asked about her cravings, her doctor visits, her nursery colors. She told me everything. She complained about money. About how my ex wasn't the man she thought he was. About how marriage felt heavier than she expected. I listened. Quietly. I contacted an old lawyer friend. The same one who helped me during my divorce. I had receipts, messages, photos, bank statements. Turns out, my ex had been cheating on my sister too. With multiple women. Using joint accounts. Lying about finances. I waited until the baby shower day. A room full of people, friends, cameras. She opened gifts, smiled wide, glowed. Then she reached mine. A simple envelope. She laughed and said, "This must be the money." She opened it. Inside were copies, screenshots, bank withdrawals, hotel receipts. Her smile died slowly. The room went silent. I stood up. My voice didn't shake. I said, "I was pregnant when you took my husband. I lost my family, my future." But I gained clarity. I looked at my ex. I said, "He's been cheating on you for years. Just like he cheated on me." My sister screamed. She cried. She collapsed into a chair. People whispered. Phones came out. I walked out calmly. The next day she called me, begging, screaming, crying. She said she was scared. She said she didn't know what to do. I told her, now you know how I felt. I hung up. They didn't last. The marriage ended before the baby arrived. Now she raises her child alone. Sometimes she texts me, says she's sorry, says she regrets everything. I don't reply. I already gave her the only gift she deserved, the truth. And every time I tuck my child into bed, I remember. I survived betrayal, I outlived their lies. And I never had to beg for revenge. I just let it arrive. She thought the story was over after that day. It wasn't. Weeks passed, then months. Her baby was born early, complications, stress. People whispered my name around her like a curse. Some blamed me, some pitied her. I stayed silent. One night I got another message. Not from her. From him, my ex-husband. He said, "You destroyed my life." I read it twice. Then I laughed for the first time in years. He begged me to talk. He said everything went wrong after I exposed him. He said my sister took everything from him, the house, the car, his reputation. I didn't reply. A week later, he showed up at my door. Uninvited, older, thinner, desperate. My child was coloring on the floor. He froze when he saw them. He whispered, "That's my..." I cut him off. "No, that's my child." His eyes filled with tears. He said he made mistakes. He said he wanted to fix things. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him. I just said, "You already chose." Then I closed the door. Months later, my sister tried again. She said she needed help. She said motherhood was hard. She said she finally understood my pain. I met her once, in a cafe. She looked broken, not angry, not proud, just empty. She asked me if I hated her. I took a long sip of my coffee. Then I said, "Hate takes energy. I don't spend mine on you." She cried, people stared. I stood up and left. Now, years later, my life is quiet, peaceful. My child laughs freely, sleeps safely. I built everything again, stronger, cleaner. Sometimes people ask me how I forgave them. I didn't. I outgrew them. They wanted money, they wanted validation, they wanted comfort. What they got instead was reality. And the truth is, losing them didn't ruin my life. Trusting them did. That's the part no one forgets. There's one last part people never hear. Because it didn't happen loudly. It happened quietly. The way real endings do. A year after everything fell apart for them. My sister tried one final move. She didn't ask for money this time. She asked for forgiveness. She sent a long message, paragraphs and paragraphs, tears typed between words. She said becoming a mother broke her open. She said she finally understood what it meant to be betrayed while pregnant. She said she wakes up every night thinking about me. She ended it with one line. "I don't expect you to help me. I just want my sister back." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I looked at my child sleeping next to me, peaceful, safe. And I realized something that hit harder than any betrayal. The sister I loved died the night she chose my husband over me. What was left was just a stranger who shared my blood. I didn't reply. Days later, I heard through family that she was telling everyone I was cold. That success had changed me. That I had no heart. I let them talk. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. I wasn't cold. I was healed. Cold people react. Healed people don't. My ex never remarried. No one trusts him anymore. Every woman hears the story first. He still checks my social media. I know because he accidentally liked an old photo once. At 3 in the morning. My sister raises her child alone. Sometimes I hear she struggles. Sometimes I hear she blames me. That's fine. I carried my pain alone too. The difference is, I didn't steal someone else's life to survive mine. Today, my life is simple, strong, mine. I don't need revenge anymore. Because the universe already handled it better than I ever could. They lost trust, they lost peace, they lost each other. I lost nothing that mattered. And every time someone asks me if I regret exposing them, if I regret not helping, if I regret walking away, I remember the night I stood barefoot and pregnant, watching my sister in my bed, and I smile. Because I didn't just survive betrayal. I became untouchable. There's something else I never told anyone, not my parents, not my friends, not even myself until much later. The betrayal didn't just break my marriage, it rewired my instincts. For a long time after, I couldn't trust silence. If a room went quiet, my chest tightened. If someone smiled too sweetly, I searched for the knife. Trauma doesn't leave when the story ends. It hides. It waits. One night, my child asked me a simple question. Why don't we have an aunt like other kids? The question hit harder than any message she ever sent. I didn't lie, I said. Because sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the deepest. My child nodded, like they understood more than they should. That's when I knew. Breaking the cycle mattered more than fixing the past. Years later, my sister showed up at a family gathering I almost skipped. She stood across the room, holding her child. Our eyes met. For a moment, the past tried to rise, the bed, the screams, the blood rushing in my ears. But something strange happened. I felt nothing. No rage, no sadness. No urge to speak. Just distance. She walked toward me slowly, like someone approaching a wild animal. She whispered my name. I didn't answer. She said, "I never meant to hurt you." That sentence used to live rent-free in my nightmares. Now it sounded small, late, useless. I finally looked at her and said, "Intent doesn't erase damage." Her face crumpled. I turned away. That was the last real conversation we ever had. Not because I was punishing her, but because there was nothing left to say. Some people think revenge is about destroying others. It's not. It's about refusing to let them destroy you twice. She lost a sister. He lost a family. They lost the future they stole. And I gained something far more dangerous than anger. Clarity. I know who I am now. I know what I will never tolerate again. I know that love without loyalty is just manipulation in disguise. If they ever watch this, if they recognize themselves in my words, this isn't a warning. It's a reminder. You don't always see the consequences right away. Sometimes they arrive years later, quietly, in the form of everything you thought you escaped. And I'll end it with this. She asked me for $6,000. What she got instead was a lifetime of remembering exactly what she did to me. And I get to sleep peacefully every night knowing I walked away with my dignity, my child, my future. They walked away with each other, and that was the punishment. There's one final truth I never shared, because it's the part that hurts them the most. After everything, after the exposure, the collapse, the silence, my life didn't just stabilize, it elevated. I got a promotion I never thought I'd qualify for, not because I begged, because pain made me sharp. I bought my own place, small, warm, safe. My child has their own room, their own laughter echoing down the hallway. And one day, without planning it, without searching, I met someone. I didn't tell my family at first. I didn't rush, I watched. He was patient. He respected boundaries. He never raised his voice. He never disappeared into silence. When he met my child, he knelt down, looked them in the eyes, asked permission to be part of their world. That's when I knew. Not because of love, because of safety. Word reached my sister eventually. It always does. She messaged me again. "Must be nice?" She wrote. "I guess you really moved on." I stared at the words. Then I deleted the message. Because moving on isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It just happens when you stop bleeding. Last I heard, she still talks about me. About how I changed. About how I became different. She's right. I became the woman who doesn't need closure. The woman who doesn't chase apologies. The woman who doesn't reopen doors that tried to burn her alive. Sometimes, late at night, I imagine her holding her phone, scrolling through old photos. Remembering who she used to be before she made that choice. That's her punishment. Living with the memory. Because here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. The people who do it always expect you to stay broken. They don't plan for your growth. They don't imagine you rebuilding better, stronger, untouchable. She thought stealing my husband was the end of my story. It was the beginning. She asked me for $6,000. But what she really wanted was reassurance that she still mattered to me. She never got that, and she never will. Because the final revenge isn't exposure. It isn't confrontation. It isn't even success. It's indifference. And that is something she'll never afford. There's a quiet detail that ties everything together. Something I noticed only after enough time passed. Every major moment of my healing happened without them. They weren't there when I signed the papers for my new home. They weren't there when my child won their first school award. They weren't there when I laughed so hard one night that I cried from joy instead of pain. They missed all of it. And that's when I understood the real cost of what they did. They didn't just betray me. They erased themselves from my future. My parents still try sometimes. They say, "She's still your sister." They say, "He's still your past." I nod, I don't argue. Because explaining peace to people addicted to chaos is pointless. One evening, years later, my child asked another question. "Do you think people who hurt others ever feel sorry?" I thought about my sister, about my ex. About the way they both cried only after consequences arrived. Then I said, "Some people don't feel sorry for what they did. They feel sorry it didn't work." That answer felt honest. I've seen my sister's regret up close. It's not about me, it's about what she lost. The comfort, the illusion. The belief that she could take without paying. Sometimes she posts pictures online, smiling, filtered, trying to look whole. But I know that look. It's the same look she had the night I caught her in my bed. A smile stretched over fear. My ex avoids family events now. He knows my name still travels faster than his excuses. People remember. Stories like this don't fade, they settle. And here's the part that still shocks me. If she had never asked for that $6,000, I might have stayed silent forever. I might have let the truth rot quietly. But greed exposes what guilt tries to hide. That one message didn't reopen my wound. It showed me how healed I already was. Because I didn't feel rage, I felt clarity. I saw her exactly as she was. Someone who mistook survival for entitlement. Someone who thought motherhood erased past sins. Someone who believed time owed her forgiveness. Time doesn't owe anyone anything. So no, I never sent her money. I never sent her comfort. I never sent her closure. I sent her something far more permanent. A reminder that you can steal a person, but you can't steal their destiny. She took my husband, she lost her sister. He took my trust, he lost his future. And I took the pain and turned it into a life so full, so protected, so mine, that their absence feels like a blessing. That's the ending they never expected. Not screaming, not revenge dressed in anger. Just a woman standing tall, holding the life they tried to break. And walking forward, without ever looking back. There's one last moment that confirms everything for me. It happened quietly, no confrontation, no drama. My child's school held a small event. Parents invited, families welcome. I almost didn't notice her at first. My sister stood near the back of the room, holding her child alone. Our kids were the same age now. Life has a cruel sense of symmetry. She watched me help my child with a project, watched the way my child leaned into me without fear, watched the way I smiled easily. I felt her eyes on me before I saw her. When I turned, our gazes locked. She looked tired, not physically, spiritually. For the first time, she didn't look angry, or defensive, or entitled. She looked like someone finally standing in the full shadow of her choices. She opened her mouth like she wanted to speak. I gave her a small nod. Polite. Distant. The kind you give a stranger. And I turned back to my child. That was it. No words were exchanged, no closure demanded. But I saw it on her face. She understood. Not the pain she caused me. Not the depth of my loss back then. She understood what she could never undo. She didn't just betray me. She chose a man who was never worth losing a sister for. That realization ages a person fast. Later that night, as I tucked my child into bed, they said, "Mom, you looked really happy today." I paused. Then I said, "I am, and I meant it." Happiness after betrayal doesn't look like winning. It looks like peace. It looks like not flinching at memories anymore. It looks like breathing freely in rooms that once felt haunted. Somewhere out there, my sister is raising her child. Trying. Surviving. So am I. The difference is, I don't wake up haunted by what I did to someone else. I don't replay a single night that destroyed my family. I don't wonder who I would have been if I'd chosen differently. She does. That's the part no one sees. The punishment that doesn't end. She asked me for $6,000. But what she really wanted was absolution. And absolution is something you can't buy from the person you broke. This is where my story ends. Not with forgiveness. Not with revenge. With freedom. I loved deeply, I lost brutally, I rebuilt honestly. And if there's one thing I know now, one truth carved into me forever. Betrayal may steal years from your life, but healing gives you the rest of it back. And I intend to live every single one. There's nothing dramatic left after this. And that's the most honest ending of all. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. It became real, steady, predictable in the best way. I still have scars, but they don't bleed anymore. Sometimes when the house is quiet and my child is asleep, memories try to surface. The smell of that room, the sound of my own scream, the way trust evaporated in seconds. But now, those memories don't control me. They pass through and leave. That's when I know I won. Not because they suffered. Not because karma arrived. But because I didn't stay trapped in the moment they broke me. I stopped measuring my life against theirs. Stopped wondering if they were happy. Stopped caring if they were sorry. Indifference didn't come overnight. It came after choosing myself again and again. On days I wanted to collapse. On nights I wanted answers. On mornings I wanted justice. I chose peace instead. And peace is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need witnesses. It just exists. When you finally stop asking broken people to fix what they shattered. Somewhere out there, my sister will always carry this story. Not the version she tells others. The real one. The one where she crossed a line she can never uncross. The one where she learned too late that some doors close forever. The one where she realizes motherhood didn't rewrite her past. It only made her understand it. As for me, I wake up every day next to the life I built from nothing. I drink my coffee slowly, I listen to my child laugh, I make plans without fear of betrayal lurking behind them. That's my revenge. Living unafraid. She took my husband when I was pregnant. She asked me for $6,000 years later. What she never understood was that the most expensive thing she took from me wasn't a man. It was my innocence. And that's the one thing she can never return. But I learned to live without it. Stronger. Sharper, free. This is the end. Not because the pain vanished, but because it no longer owns me. And that's something no one can ever take again.